it, and it might ask you to authorize recording. So just checking in with how you feel today. Notice how you're breathing. How your body's feeling. And where you feel connected to your body. Where you feel disconnected to your body. And where you might be holding any tension. Is it in your eyes, your forehead, your cheeks, your nose, your shoulders? And try and soften a little bit to let go of that tension. So Becky's just joined us, so we're just gonna close your eyes, relax. Taking a moment to thank yourself for showing up today, arriving, and having this moment to investigate a little bit more about how you can balance and look after yourself in this changing season. And start to connect to your breath. So you can, if you want to, it's going to be about 5 minutes. If you want to lay down, if that makes you feel more comfortable. And then as you breathe, noticing the channel of that breath coming in, going out. Breathing in just gently. So you don't have to engineer this breath. Just notice your breath coming in, going out. Maybe you can see your breath. And as you breathe, breathing in, just mentally saying the word so as you breathe in. And as you breathe out in your head, but helping you find this rhythm of your breath. Seeing that breath as your prana, your energy, your life force. Keeping your eyes softly closed and just feeling that flow of your breath. As we're focusing on autumn and that season, and that in this season there's a predominance of wind and vata energy and prana. So feeling as you breathe connected to the wind outside, whether you can just notice it outside your room, whether you've got the window open and you can feel that air coming in. And then visualizing your feet and your legs, just grounding down into the floor. As you take your attention to your feet, feel that your feet are like roots of a tree and you can fully connect into the earth. So you feel rooted and steady. And that lower part of your body, that trunk of your body is just keeping you stable, keeping you steady. And at the same time, as you breathe, you can feel a little bit like the leaves on the tree and the energy of the tree. You can feel that exchange of prana that you're breathing in and sending out. Maybe coming back to that Soham breath. Being aware of the wind around us. And although you've got that movement, although you can feel the breath coming in and out, at the same time, you can feel really steady, really grounded, really rooted here. And feeling that sensation of prana and energy is your exchange with the world. Almost as if you could be giving life to that tree with your exhale. And feeling nourished with your inhale. Just having a few more breaths, staying with it. And harnessing that sensation of feeling grounded. So you have this rooted sensation in your lower body, your legs, your lower trunk. But you still have the freedom of movement in your upper body. You still have that freedom in your lungs, almost as if the leaves on the tree, the branches of the tree can just gently sway, and that's totally okay because you're grounded and safe. And at the same time, you can move in your space. Visualizing the place that you're in. And just beginning to bring your breath back to your natural flow of breath. If you're laying down with your eyes softly closed, just bring yourself into a seated position. Taking a minute to notice how that air energy feels in your body. Do you feel that movement and flow? And then just gently, wherever you are, whenever you feel ready, gently blinking your eyes back open. Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome, everybody. So we're going to have it broken up a little bit with a little bit of breathing, me talking, questions, and a little bit of meditation in between, so it doesn't feel it's sort of like constantly just information at you, hopefully. Oh, cool. So one last little exercise we're going to do before we get going. We're just going to do some alternate nostril breathing. So obviously, if you've got a cold or blocked sinuses or anything, then just take it easy. You're right, Betty. Okay, so just do what you can, and if you want to like lie down at any time and chill out, that's totally okay. All right, guys, so taking your, because this is going to be one of our practices for autumn and for all of your doshas, just to help you bring into balance. So it's a nice thing to do every day. So if you haven't done it before, we're going to use your thumb to block your left nostril. Maybe take your peace fingers onto that third eye center and your ring finger. If you have a different connection with fingers, it's totally okay. Okay, guys, and then we're going to start with your thumb covering the right one. If that feels a bit complicated, you can always just pinch your nose as well. Okay, and checking out, before you squeeze the nostril, just check out how you're breathing for a moment. So notice if you can feel one's more predominant than the other. And then close your eyes if you feel comfortable to, but you don't have to if it doesn't feel right today, and cover the right nostril. Going to breathe in slowly through the left. Cover the left, breathe out through the right. Great, stay with the right nostril, breathing in through the right. Cover the right, breathe out through the left. Breathe in through the left. Cover the left, breathing out through the right. So slowing it down to your pace, in through the right. Cover the right out through the left. We're going to go for about 2 minutes. Okay, so if my count is too quick or slow for you, then change to your own pace. So you're just breathing through those alternate nostrils. Focusing as much as you can on the journey of that breath. So just follow it. Follow it into your third eye space where those 2 fingers are. It's just about 30 seconds more. So staying with keeping it slow and steady and having that sensation of feeling that we're balancing out your prana, balancing out your energy. And then just gently stopping the next time you breathe out through the left. Keep your eyes closed for a moment. Notice how it feels to breathe in through both nostrils. Whenever you feel ready, just gently opening your eyes. Oh, great. Thanks, guys. Everybody feeling okay? Cool. So thank you all as well for giving me all your like things that are particularly like challenging you at the moment. Though, but like most of us seem like pretty healthy. Although obviously, if you maybe like Betty's not feeling very well today, but generally everybody doesn't seem to be too bad. So I'm going to go through the first part of it is more about autumn and Ayurveda and how we can kind of keep our systems well. And then we'll go into the second part a little bit more specifically about everybody's individual challenges and different recipes and different practices that we can do to help us with that. So Ayurveda, I know some of you know more than others, is the like knowledge or the science of life, and the Ayurveda being the life, the longevity. So keeping ourselves going for as long as we can. And in something that I've recently learned, which I'm now quite excited about, but if someone had told me that I might live till I was 108 before, I'd be thinking, oh wow, that's like a bit too long. But that magic 108 number, like 108 mala beads, and when we do 108 sun salutations in the Ayurvedic study that I'm doing, if you follow an Ayurvedic lifestyle and go with all the preventative methods so that you don't become ill and have any disorders, they say that most people should live till they're 108. So we'll all be doing yoga and breathing a lot, walking around the planet at 108 with our marlin beads. So with like the breath that we've just been doing and focusing on that prana and feeling the wind, our physical body, we're all made up of the elements. So it's relevant to this session that we're doing because the autumn, as we're entering the autumn, it's more affected by Vata, and that Vata element has got higher ether and air. So when you know your own dosha, but in this session, instead of us looking at the dosha that you are, we're going to look more at like the influences that are outside of us and any disorders being as their own personality rather than how you are. But then because you know how you are, you can also manage that a little bit with ways of persuading yourself to do things. You know, if you know that you're a little bit all over the place and you need to get grounded. So the Vata element, like this season, is predominantly air and ether, and we all have a little bit of that in us. So say my friend Jo is all Vata, so I think she's 100% Vata, so she's all air and ether. So in this season she's kind of like all over the place. I think Betty's a mixture of Vata and Pitta. So then you can feel that in your body, and that Pitta energy is fire and water. And then the Kapha energy, those people that are a little bit more stable and like your favorite grandma or aunt, and like my mum, my stepdad are very Kapha, and they just want to make a home and they want to make food and they want to look after you and they just want to kind of stay where they are, and they don't want to do a lot of activity, but you can see that they're very much made up of that earth and water element. And in the season that we're in, it's mostly Vata. So what we're looking at is all the things that are challenging us at the moment. And with our knowledge that there's a lot of air and ether around, we're going to look at how we can balance it out. So calming down the air and the ether, because we're in a season that's starting to get a little bit cold as well. We've got a little bit of Kapha. So Kapha is a little bit bothered by cold. So like the cold air, the cold weather. So we're going to keep that in mind as well, but predominantly looking at how much Vata we've got within us or what's upsetting our system at the moment, and just trying to bring it down a little bit. So I'm going to send you guys as well this PowerPoint. So you'll have all of these slides and stuff as well. Okay, I'm going to come to that in a moment. I'll just explain before we get to that one. So as a body and as a person, or with our challenges, we're made up of these different elements. And in order for us to like work in the best way possible and function, we're taking in food, taking it into our digestive system, and then it's moving through a channel. So we have these three main channels in our body, and we want to keep those channels really clear and free so that they can get the nourishment and nutrition to all of the levels of our body, so all the different layers. So our body systems, there was a nice diagram that seemed a bit like with the tree meditation, so that you can feel how we're taking stuff in, like with the flow of air as we're breathing. When you're taking that energy in, you want it to find the right channel and nourish you. So it's like the food that we eat. When we're eating it, 95% of that disappears out of our body and only 5% goes into nourishing. So for our immunity, and as we're going forwards, we want to try and keep all of those channels really clear, so that 5%, you can really take it and get it to your skin, to all the tissues in your body, without keeping the channels clear. So we've got the channel that you're breathing and the channel that you're having water. So when you drink water and you urinate, when you breathe, you perspire, and when you eat, we go to the toilet. So if you think about these three main channels, and what we're working on is keeping those channels nice and clear. Does that make sense? You don't have to sort of fully understand those bits, but we're focusing on getting the channels nice and clear. So in order to do that and give them their proper route, we want to look at our digestive fire. So it's like you have this like boiling pot cauldron in your belly, and we want to make it work, but make it work so effectively that all of the right nutrients go to the right spaces. So if you have had coffee this morning, whether it's decaf or caffeinated coffee, doesn't make any difference. That coffee, the elements in the coffee are aggravating your digestive fire. So they're making them work for some of us so much faster. So then you're just going to the toilet. So that 5%, you haven't even got it. So whatever you ate, your body can't take it to the channel. It can't take it to anywhere to be nourished. It's just coming straight out of you. And this is quite a revolutionary thing that I found is water. Too much water does the same thing. So we're told to have like 2 liters, 3 liters of water a day. But if you think this lovely little cauldron pot that's in your belly, if you have too much liquid, you're putting out the fire. So the fire in your digestive system, it can't then start to take all of the nourishment to the right places. So those of you who said you don't think you drink enough water, you probably are, as long as you're not thirsty. So the indication for you guys would be, if you're thirsty, drink. And if you're not thirsty, don't drink. I think, Af, you said you have like 3 liters a day. So was that 3 liters a day, you said? Yeah, wow, that's like, that's epic. So, but you might be like flushing everything out. I know you exercise a lot as well, but are you thirsty when you have that? Yeah.
Yes, it's because of just the sheer amount that I do and the sheer amount that I move. Because I do get thirsty quite a lot. I'm thinking about, I'm a bit thirsty now as well, actually.
Just when you do it, think maybe try and have like a little bit less as well, and see 3 liters is loads. Like you must be kind. Do you sweat? Does it come out?
Yeah, especially when I'm exercising and stuff. Yeah, it all comes out. It's all gone.
It's all moving. That's
Yeah.
all right. When I read it, I was like, wow. Yeah. So it's another one of our channels, but you just want to make sure that you're not over diluting that channel. So from our digestive fire, we have this lovely little pot that's in your belly, and everything that we're putting into that, so whether it's like food or liquid, but if you could also think as well of like sensory input. So you know, when we're in a nice environment and you're looking around and there's, I don't know, birds and there's flowers and everything's lovely, the way that you're processing, that's also being absorbed as if it's absorbed into your digestion in your Agni fire, and then it's nourishing through tissues in the same way. So if you're in an environment that for your emotions and your sensory input is not very nice, it's I don't know, you're arguing with people, or it's dark, or there's something that's causing you to tense up, that's going to also inhibit the same channels and the same way of you digesting food and energy and getting it to go to the right place. So we have these 7 layers. So from the tree, I'll explain through them. But if, as you're looking at it, you think about going in a clockwise direction. So the first layer would be it's a diagram like a tree, but if you could think about us being like a tree. So the first layer that you're nourishing is plasma. So whatever you ate this morning or drank, it's going to take 1 to 5 days for your digestive fire to get the nourishment towards the plasma that's in our body. And then it's going to take another 5 to 10 days for it then to reach the blood layer of your body. So whatever we've got this little 5% that of the food that you've taken in, we've eaten it, your digestive fire is working, it's 5 days to get to the plasma level, 10 days to go to the blood level, and then 15 days to get into the muscle. So when you think about kind of what happens to your skin, if you've got like things like eczema, and then you've got psoriasis, the eczema level would be at the blood level. So we can sometimes fix that more quickly than psoriasis by the stuff that you're consuming, because we're just getting to this surface level that only takes us maybe 10 days to get to. But when you go a little bit deeper into muscle or fat, then we've got 15 or 20 days to get all the way down to those layers. So something like psoriasis can be really deep in our body. So then after the fat level being at 20, then next place that we're going to nourish is the bone level. So things that are sitting in our bones, bone disorders, arthritis, or anything like that, when we're trying to get the Agni fire to work and send the nourishment all the way there, we've got 25 days to get there. And then after the bone, we're going to bone marrow and nerve tissue. So then we're on 30 days. And then in order, so people that are suffering with maybe like menstrual problems, fertility problems, then we've got 35 days for that Agni fire to send all of that. It's because it's going through each layer as it gets all the way down to our reproductive system. So and then if we have done all of this great work and you are eating lovely foods, nourishing yourself, and then you go and have a coffee and some tomatoes, let's say something that's kind of like really aggravating, it can undo a lot of the work that you've been doing. So with Ayurveda, looking after yourself in a preventative way, it's a real question of committing to stay in that process, because it's taking us a long time to get into all those layers. That makes sense, guys? Great, awesome. And then the very last one is something called Ojas. So Ojas is like our essence and our spirit, and it's that real kind of like deep level of nourishment. And another really kind of interesting thing. So before I was vegetarian for quite a long time, and then I sort of flirted with the idea of being vegan for a while. And then when I started doing this course, I stopped being vegan. And although you can still use like vegan alternatives, but one of the best ways to get directly to nourish your ojas, and it actually goes straight through all of the layers, so it cuts out this daytime of like 5, 10, 15 days, is having milk. So organic milk nourishes you straight into the ojas. So it's, if you can get something like ghee or ojas or milk into your diet, it's really good at nourishing all of those 7 tissues and getting straight to the root of it. And because it's an animal protein, it's very similar or close to our own protein, and that's why it can get straight through all the tissues to go right to that ojas essence of you to nourish you. And if you are vegan, then you can still use alternative milks and things like that. It's just not quite as effective, and you just have to be a little bit more patient. So having all of that, is everyone still with me? And kind of, yeah, great. Okay, so So it was really great because everybody's keenly interested in this. I thought you'd appreciate like where the sites are as well of Vata, Pitta, Kapha. So thinking about, like say if you've got kind of like sinusy problems or like chest problems and maybe kind of stuff going on in your head, the element of Vata that we're dealing with at the moment and having that air and wind, it's like the strongest one in our body because it's moving. It's responsible for moving everything. So it's moving our energy, it's moving our breath, it's moving the prana, it's assisting moving the food, it's assisting getting everything to all of those layers, all the dhatus. So this one particular element is really powerful in our body. And if it's out of balance, you can really feel it. And at the moment, or as we start to go into autumn, when it's a windy day and you can see like children in the playground all go a little bit crazy, or people get kind of that crazy, Carol's nodding, people get that kind of like crazy wind thing happening. And maybe, I don't know, if you've got animals, maybe they're kind of a little bit more skitty when it's windy, and children definitely are. So with our, the way that they sit in our body, with the Kapha element, because we also have a little bit of Kapha's in our chest. So when you have colds and flu, which people start getting, it's that mucus starts collecting and hanging out in our chest. And with the Vata element, it's sending that energy through your body. So you've got it in your nose, we have it in your head. So, with anxiety and worry and places like that, that Vata element's controlling that space in your head. And with our Pitta element being made up of fire and water, that's predominantly in your belly. So that's where our digestive fire is. So we're trying to balance all of these different elements in all the different places in your body. Vata is also responsible for the elimination. So you have Vata not only at the top, but at the bottom as well. So in our colon, and helping you, if you've got problems with constipation or anything like that, it's having stuck Vata, or menstrual problems as well, although the menstrual problems are a little bit to do with the Pitta. But for us in this moment, and for the guys that are in there, if you do get problems with your digestion, we've first got to sort out that Agni fire, so the Pitta element, and then get the Vata element to stay balanced enough so that you eliminate steadily and you're not in a place of being constipated or everything going too quickly. Okay, so the next little element that we want to consider with our working towards getting us balanced is what's stopping all this stuff working really well. So what's stopping us getting all of the nourishment and everything to the places in our body so that we can be completely well and healthy is something called armor. So armor is toxins. Does anybody tongue scrape in the morning? No. Okay, cool. That's good. Well, it's hopefully that you'll. Oh yeah, great. Okay, you guys do. So when you scrape your tongue in the morning, if you don't have a tongue scraper, mine's like you can buy them anywhere, but they're normally like a copper little bit of wire that's kind of in a horseshoe shape, and you scrape off your tongue. So when you go to the bathroom first thing in the morning, you can see what's on your tongue, whether it's particularly white or whether you've got a totally pink tongue. And then that gives you a little bit of an indication of how much armor you've got in your body. So how much toxins you've got in your body. So if you've got loads of white stuff there in the morning, maybe that's undigested food, but it could be emotional as well. So you could have emotional and psychological things that you're not digesting. And because you're not digesting them, they're also appearing in that same way. So you're having them come up as armor. Or it could be bad breath. You could get like a loss of, it's interesting because it's also with those symptoms of after COVID, having loss of taste and smell, that's also one of the side effects of having a buildup of armor that you haven't got rid of and that you haven't released, is that you can have that loss of taste and smell. So our armor is built up because of either having the wrong food for us, or maybe eating at the wrong time, maybe eating too late, maybe eating while you're angry, maybe not eating enough. Could be that you're in an environment that's not very good for you, that's not very conducive to how your emotional state is. And I'm thinking about Betty and Afnan, actually, from where they're, I think, are you guys still living in somewhere that you ideally not want to be living?
It's really horrible here. But yeah, we are. I'm just
go on the roof last.
Yeah, people keep jumping across the roofs and stuff, and somebody tried to break in by the roof before, so the dogs are really scared as well because they're trying to protect us all the time. So I feel like it's just so tense outside. Yeah.
Oh, guys.
I'm just laughing as well because Afnan's mum in Urdu translates to Amma, so everything that I'm like, oh my god, bless her.
Oh yeah, so if we're in, it may be people at work, if you're working in an environment that is causing you to feel unwell, maybe because you're having conflict with people at work, or just the environment's not very nice. Working in a factory or something where there's not very much daylight or anything like that can also help you build up armor and have those blocks in your body. So we're in the short term, with having that armor, we just get like little things like colds and flu and maybe being a bit tired or having an upset stomach. But when you have a prolonged exposure to having armor, or not being able to get the nourishment from your food and get it to go all the way through to all those different tissues, it can come into arthritis and asthma and even cancer and longer term conditions. And it's by having those things that go untreated, or when you have like a little niggle but you just ignore it, like you have a pain in your knee or a pain in your back, or you just get a little sniffle and you kind of just push it to one side, and maybe you have a paracetamol or something like that, and then just carry on. But this armor is still there and it's blocking everything moving, so we're not getting that nice clear flow through the channels of your body, through those throaters, and we're not getting this lovely nourishment coming from the center of your body, from that Agni fire to the plasma, the blood, the muscle, the fat, and all that way to your ojas. So it's kind of got a really long route to get to nourish you. Right, okay guys. So let me just go back a sec. So with the different season that we're in, and with the different, has everybody kind of looked at what dosha they are? I feel like, Gina, you're shaking your head. My feeling is that you're Vata Pitta. I don't know which way round it would be. I feel like you would be more Vata, but a little bit of Pitta. Okay, so thinking about, but don't hold on too much to what dosha you are, okay, because it's not quite as important for this today. So this is, have you come across the different tastes that we've got in our, like when you're balancing out tastes and all the different foods that you can eat? So everything that we eat comes under one of these 6 tastes. And in order to help us get the most out of our food, we want to balance the 6 tastes in our body. So say we're looking at the moment, we're into autumn. So there's more vata around generally. So we're looking to decrease the vata that is around us, okay? Because there might be a little bit too much going on. So in general, for like the season, we're looking at foods that may be sweet, sour, and salty, because they're going to help decrease the vata. With that in mind, you're also looking at how you are as an individual. So if you have a little bit of a scatty mind and you find it maybe a little bit difficult to sleep, or anything like that, that would work for you as well. But say you have a little bit of like sluggishness about you, and you are finding it hard to get yourself motivated, or you've got a little bit of extra weight gain that you want to move away from as well, we're looking at balancing those tastes of vata and kapha. So because they've got similar elements, it's being mindful of both. So with that, with the kapha elements, we've got pungent, bitter, astringent. So ideally, when you eat any food, it's the best way to practice is if you can get all 6 flavors in everything that you eat. So it's quite a tricky thing to get, but we've got some nice like spicy soup. And if you have a little, going to give you a few recipes at the end, but herbs and spices that you can get together so that you can just put a little bit with each of your meal, so that your body gets to hit all 6 flavors. And in getting all 6 tastes in all of your, so things like garlic's 5. Garlic has 5 of those 6 tastes. So if you have garlic in most of the things that you eat, then you're generally getting a nice balance in everything there. I know it's trickier for breakfast, but I have a breakfast with garlic as well that you can have. But by balancing the taste, can you see where the tastes correspond to the elements? And then the elements are corresponding to the doshas and the seasons, and that's corresponding to how our body's made up. So we're balancing us with the environment, with the energy around us, so that everything that you eat, that you drink, that you see, that you breathe can be fully digested and taken to nourish all of those layers in your body. And I'll send this for you. You don't have to worry too much about it, but I thought it was quite a nice thing to have so that you can look at different foods and think, like maybe your breakfast, I imagine like lots of people have stuff like granola or cereal for breakfast, and you're mostly maybe like just hitting the sweet one for breakfast and not having a balance of even more than one flavor. There's also, if you're interested, I've got a few sheets that I can send you with loads of spices and food that come under like the 6 flavors, because as much as you like look at it, there's only like a few things here. Sometimes it's really hard to work out, especially things like pungent, bitter, astringent, because in our like normal Western diet, we don't have so much pungent, bitter, astringent. But if you're starting to cook a little bit more Asian, then they come into it a little bit more frequently. Cool. So with those flavors in mind, I'm not trying to kind of like layer it up so that it feels like hopefully it comes together, but these basically sort of like say the same thing in each one. But if you think about, if somebody's very vatary, I'm just going to use Jo as an example because she's also my friend, no, she won't mind. But if you're vata and we're in autumn and there's that vata season, and say you suffer from not being able to sit still, a little bit of anxiety and nervousness, but then you keep adding vata to it, you're just going to get more and more like this, and more airy, more and more up in the air all over the place. So say if you go running and you go running outside and you get a little bit cold, and then you eat salad and quinoa and oats and food. If you imagine all the food that might look and feel like that vata, that's kind of like air and ether, then you're just making it like worse and worse and worse and getting more and more vatery. Whereas if you were somebody that was more Kapha and you had problems like motivating yourself, or you had a little bit of extra weight that you didn't want to have, then you can do the opposite things and get moving a little bit more and have lighter foods. So when you have that Vata and Kapha together, it's a little bit more complicated, and we're just looking for like the common things. So like Vata and Kapha, both are cool and don't like being cold. So it's kind of like we can warm them both up. Or are you with me on that, guys? Great. Okay, so this is just a little bit on the doshas, and I say you've got each one. It's just to go through in a little bit more detail. So you could think about the doshas like the illnesses or any challenges that people have in the same way as if they've got their own personality. So if you had a cough, your cough would be a Kapha. And if you had acne, then your acne would be Pitta. Does that make sense? So you could so you might be a Vata person, but with Pitta acne. You know, you could be a Pitta person, but so like my stepdad has had psoriasis, and he is Pitta, but his psoriasis is Kapha, and it's because it's white and it's heavy and it's sort of not kind of like moving very much. It just stays there, and it's also, when it sounds a bit gross, but it can be a bit oozy. So he had a particular type of psoriasis, but everybody's psoriasis can be different. So it's looking at a bit like your personality, looking at the personality of whatever might be wrong with you or someone that you know. So these are like the characteristics, if you like, of those things. So with Vata, it's dry, cold, light, mobile, rough, subtle and clear. So if you think about not only a person, but that could be like their skin, how they're moving, their personality, but you can see that, say, oats have also got the same qualities. And maybe some salad has got the same qualities. They like lettuce, cucumber, things like that, quinoa, as well as an actual personality. And then Pitta, oily, hot, light, mobile, penetrating, unpleasant odor, liquid, and thinking about like our blood and our digestive system, and that's Pitta. So things that can be wrong with that. And then if you have acne, then if we see that acne could be oily and might be hot. And then Kapha is oily and cold, heavy, sticky, dull, soft, firm. So thinking about like what foods come into your mind, thinking about like if a food was to be described like that. It doesn't have to fit all 6 of them. It could just be like a couple of them. I'm going to say like, I feel like Betty's going to speak, but you're on mute, or you're just chatting to each other. That's all right. You can just chat to each other if you want.
We're just talking about porridge.
Oh.
Porridge is.
I'm gonna place it.
So porridge is Vata. So because although it feels like it's heavier, yeah, because of the oats. So the oats make it Vata. If you were to make it with like rice flakes, the rice changes it, but the constitution of oats, because they're so dry and rough, they sort of trump everything else and make it really Vata-y. So with Ayurveda doesn't recommend oats for anybody really with anything, because it's a real kind of like bummer if you're like a big porridge fan. But there's loads of rice porridge, and rice flakes taste exactly the same as porridge. My mum and my stepdad are so fussy and they don't like anything that I ever make them, but they do like rice flake porridge. They've got, or semolina as well. You could make semolina porridge.
That's cool.
On the Kapha foods, if you think about like butter and cheese, mashed potato, so that kind of slightly heavier food. It doesn't mean that's bad. Say if you're a Vata person, like at the moment with that season, the Kapha foods are going to be good to help you ground and help you relax. And rice is bi-doshic. So rice we can have over all three of those doshas, but we can make the rice. I've got 3 recipes at the end. We can make the rice to be better for Vata, better for Pitta, or better for Kapha, depending on how wet it is, how dry it is, what you add in with it. Okay, so then thinking about, I know it seems like what I'm going to do after is I'm going to give you the PowerPoint, but also obviously like open to questions and give you a few more recipes and stuff and a few more good foods for Vata, good foods for Pitta, good foods for Kapha. But when you think that, just in my head, if you were a Vata person, you're thinking, oh yeah, that would be a good food for Vata. You have to consider, do you want to make Vata more or do you want to make Vata less? Because if you already have sort of can't sit still type of thing going on, or you've got anxiety, or you've got any sort of like sinus problems or bone problems or things like that, which are all Vata related, then instead of increasing that Vata, you want to decrease the Vata. So with the season that we're in and the things that are around you at the moment, can you think about, you don't have to share anything about this, but can you think of anything that's like in your lifestyle at the moment that's maybe aggravating your situation? Say of anything that you sent to me on those little questions. Maybe if it's sleeping, how's your environment that you sleep in? If it is anything like digestive problems, is that got anything to do with the environment that's around you? If that is anxiety or like general immunity or anything like that, is there anything that's going on that could be contributing to that at the moment? And can you change it? Is that something that you can change at the moment, if there is anything? If you can't change it, like I'm just thinking about like where Betty and Afnan are living, that's totally okay, because at some point you will be able to. So we can just do as much as we can to support that until you're able to change it.
It's only going to be a month, I think.
Oh, great.
We found out yesterday.
Oh, good. Fingers crossed. And then as we've got autumn coming, or like it might feel like you're fully in autumn at the moment, can you think of like any foods that you might be having normally that could aggravate you or aggravate this season? Is there something that's in your things like oats, coffee, salad, quinoa, lemon? Do you have a lot of any of those things, and can you feel any difference in your body, or can you feel any difference as like the season's starting to change? Is there anything that's making you feel cooler, or anything that maybe changing your sleep or the rhythm of how you go to the toilet or what you drink? Just something to think about and reflect on. So I'm not going to ask you. And I'm just wondering if you had like a break to go and make a drink, what would you make to drink? Would it be a caffeinated drink or would it be a non-caffeinated drink? So we're just going to take a couple of minutes just so that we're not kind of sat in the same space for 2 hours. So even if you want to stay here, that's cool. But if you did want to go and make a drink, there's no judgment. You can make whatever you like to drink. And just have 2 minutes to change the space that you're in. So stand up, shake your body around, maybe kind of go into another room and come back so that we're not looking at the same screen for 2 hours. So just maybe like 3 minutes past 11, say. Hey, Gina, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yeah, it's quite enlightening.
Sorry, is it too much or?
No, it's great. You've just confirmed what I knew I had to do, which is knock off the decaf coffee, because I've known for absolutely ages, and it's been something that I've wanted to do for absolutely ages, but I never do. But I am going to. But I am glad that you sort of said about the organic milk, because that's the other thing. Is I know fine well that I shouldn't be having. I have filtered blue milk, and I know fine well I shouldn't be having that. I should be having organic because of the estrogens coming through, and I know that. But yeah, so those 2 takeaways, if nothing else. And I have porridge and I have salad, and this is what So theoretically, I have apart from maybe the decaf coffee, a healthy diet: porridge, oats, salad, cottage cheese. But they're all, from what you just said, they're all battery, aren't they?
Yeah. And I think, yeah, I do. And because you would be gravitating towards that food, because it's like there was this great analogy that the lecturer gave me, and they were saying, oh, if you were going to go out for dinner with someone, who would you go out for dinner with? Like you're your best friend in the whole world that you can chat like forever with, or would you go out with your neighbor who you kind of have a couple of things in common with, or would you go out with someone else that you don't know, that you've never met, that you've got nothing in common with. And you'd go out with like your best friend, wouldn't you, who you've got loads in common with. And it's how we choose food and how you choose things. So you're doing that, but because you're Vata, you're going with another Vata. So you're making it like blowing it up and making it
Super Vata.
yeah.
Yeah, and I picked that up straight away. So, I mean, like I said, there was a couple of things, obviously all of that I didn't understand, but I knew about the organic milk and I knew about the coffee. And it's just making the stand to make the change. And that'll be, I mean, the organic milk's easy, but dropping the coffee will be a little bit difficult.
Well, I'm going to give everybody the option, but you totally don't have to do a sort of 3-week cleanse, like a detox for autumn. So, but going gradually. So like from Monday, say, just to get in, like have a week of preparing ourselves. So getting rid of the coffee and the sugar and alcohol and stuff, and kind of like preparing your cupboards, you know, so you're sort of running out of the food, so you're not going to use, because then everyone's got, oh my god, I've got all this like stuffed tomatoes or whatever it is. I don't know.
Oh god, life staple.
Oh my god, do you know what, as well, the summer before I started this course, loads of people in Saltburn had allotments, and I really like tomatoes, and everybody gets loads of tomato. I guess it's like the easiest thing. And I was eating buckets of tomatoes. I'd have tomatoes for snacks, tomato soup, tomato in my curry, tomato.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, and if you think about like tomatoes and the redness, and one of their Pitta qualities is like angry and frustration and short of patience. So sometimes they can be connected to like an emotional side of Pitta, or if you get too competitive or driven or determined, and tomatoes all play a part in that.
Right.
Crazily, even though they seem like this little lovely harmless fruit vegetable, don't they?
Yeah, a little bundle of goodness. But maybe not for me. Yeah, and they didn't write down tomatoes as well. Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're going to have another little meditation just to kind of bring us back. So again, you can sit or lay down wherever you think you're going to have like the least resistance to move, if you like. And if you're sat, we're going to have an empty bowl meditation. So if you're sat, just placing one hand on top of the other as if you were creating an empty bowl with your palms up. But if you're laying down, just lay however you want to, okay? So guys, closing down your eyes. Take a nice deep steady breath in through your nose. Exhaling through your mouth. And let go of any tension in your body. Allow your mouth just to be slightly open. Maybe your tongue touches the roof of your mouth behind your teeth. Notice your breath. So just without any effort, let the lungs breathe. And let's watch our breath. So with your eyes closed, watching that wonderful breath and pranic energy move in and out of your body. And as you're watching your breath, be aware of the tip of your nose. Noticing the breath coming in and out, maybe through your nose now. And feeling as if cool air is coming in and warm air is coming out. So it's just going to be for 2 minutes, okay? Feeling that invitation of prana, cool air coming in and the warm air going out. So now following your breath with the air, feel the air come into your nose, your throat, your heart, your diaphragm, deep down into the belly, behind your belly button. And maybe you find a little stop here. And then gently let the breath out and trace it all the way back out. Through the diaphragm, the heart, the throat, the nose. Going to follow this breath. So you're breathing it in. Follow it down. Nose, throat, heart, diaphragm, deep down into your belly. And then just stop for a fraction of a second here. This time when you breathe it out, going to try and follow it all the way, same route, out through your heart, your throat, your nose, and then see if you can let it go 9 inches in front of your nose. So keep imagining the breath is out and then just stay there. And then inhaling, following the same way. So you're watching this energy, this prana come into your body, and we're giving it 2 stops. So all the way in, and hold it for a moment. And then when you let the breath out, follow that direction of the breath as it goes out. See it 9 inches away from you and just hold that stop. So following this beautiful stop and this journey of your breath. Making that pause a little bit longer. And when you reach that pause, feel the presence of where you are. So in that pause, at the end of that breath, whether it's all the way in or all the way out, allow yourself to become like an empty bowl. And there is nothing there. You are just fully present in that moment. And in that moment, you're surrounded by peace and love. And there's nothing else because you're just in this empty space, just like an empty bowl. Finding your own rhythm. So you're tracing that breath. I'm only going to go for about 5 more rounds, guys. So just following that breath direction and holding it, enjoying that pause, as if in the pause, not only do you become an empty bowl, but it's like we can suspend time. And in that space, all that exists here is peace and love. Feeling as if your lungs are being part of this breath, part of this empty bowl. And when you naturally feel ready, just allow your breath to revert back to its normal ebb and flow. Noticing what that is for you, without judgment. And gazing in to that third eye space. And then whenever you feel ready, I'm going to rub our hands, keep your eyes closed, rub your hands. Get the warmth going in your hands. If you've got glasses on, you might want to take your glasses off. And then place your warm palms just gently over your eyes. And our eyes being a pitta site. So when you have like eye strain or anything like that, this is a really nice exercise to do if you've been reading a lot, looking at a computer screen, and to just give your pitta build up that might be in your eyes sometimes a little bit of relief. And then just slowly peering into your palms, through your fingers. Whenever you feel ready, just opening your eyes, bringing yourself back into the room. Have little stretch if you want to. Oh, cool. Well, you can go back to your tea and coffee if you want to now. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly mention each one, and because this is something that you're going to have to keep. So just going through each Vata, Pitta and Kapha, having a look at how they can come up as imbalances. Okay, so right. So if we have aggravated Vata, so it might be that you might not be a Vata person, but maybe you have something that is Vata-y, you know, so it could be anxiety. So you could be normally like a Kapha person, but have anxiety, insomnia, dry skin, eczema or weight loss. And these are all things if you have like too much Vata going on. So, and it's like quite common, isn't it, in autumn or in winter that everybody gets dry skin, you know, whatever they are. Often like the wind just affects our skin. If you're normally Vata, but you drop too low and you don't have enough Vata, that can also feel a little bit like you've got an excess of Kapha. So you've got chronic fatigue, maybe sleeping too much, or having a depression, ME, things like that. And when it's become really impaired and it's gone on for a longer period of time, you can have people with paralysis, motor neuron disease, dementia, bloating. Bloating is a really common thing with Vata, and you can feel like, you know, like the wind and the air, and think about when you might have bloating after you've eaten, I don't know, too many lentils or too much like gassy food, or if you've got like fizzy drinks or something like that, and it's puffing up your belly. So things that can cause those for Vata are stuff like suppression of natural urges. So if you're stopping yourself from going to the toilet, or I guess like most people don't, but if you were, say, I don't know, traveling for a long day or something like that, and you had to drive 8 hours, or somewhere that you don't want to, but also like burping, farting, all of those things as well. Like Ayurveda says you should burp and fart whenever you want to. So if you're suppressing it, that's causing like imbalances in your body. If you have exposure to loud music, like prolonged exposure to loud music, excessive thinking, or I can think of loads of people actually that excessively think, you know, when you're, especially if you have a lot of time and you're just kind of taking yourself down that route, concentration, meditation, isolation, overexposure to like those extremes, so either sun or cold or windy conditions, accidents. Bloodletting is things like having leech therapy. So I think we do have some stuff in London, but if you have treatment with leeches, too much travel can also cause vata imbalances. And these are how you might see a vata imbalance. So maybe it's somebody that you know, or somebody like my dad, for example, has tinnitus. And he has tinnitus because he rides a motorbike, and he's always ridden a motorbike. When he was younger, he didn't have those like earplug things in. So if he was to stop riding a motorbike and do some other practices, he would get rid of his tinnitus or make it less. But he doesn't want to. So he'd rather have tinnitus and still ride his motorbike. So by finding them, you have to find like the cause of it. So I can't get rid of my dad's tinnitus. We can't make it any different because he won't stop doing what's causing it. So this is just for you to keep and think. I don't think anybody particular, things like muscle cramps as well. You know, where if obviously, like for me teaching yoga, I often come across people cramping in pigeon pose, or normally pigeon pose, I think, you know, so that can also be, now I've come to realize, could be a vata imbalance as well. Excessive talking, excessive walking. I guess everybody knows someone that's excessively talking all the time. Bloating, fluid retention, noises in your stomach, dryness of your throat. So for you, just have it's just nice to be aware of these things, that they can come up. And in this season that we're going into, you might find that maybe you don't get anything like the whole year, but maybe it just happens more in autumn. Or maybe you are somebody that's more predisposed to vata imbalances. So then these are the treatments for that. And I'll go on to like how we can do stuff as we get towards the end of it. But where we had those tastes, so this is using food that is sweet, sour, salty, and warm and heavy. So we're using like the vata decreasing foods and also the kapha increasing foods to find that balance. And if you have, like with all the skin, eczema and dry skin and things like that, oilation, so looking at how we can take oil internally as well as externally. And I've got some recipes for you guys that have got dry skin for like medicated ghee drinks, so that you can drink. It doesn't sound very nice, but it doesn't taste half as bad as you imagine it would be. So with ghee as well, if you're taking ghee, if you go to India and go on retreats where they do excessive detoxification and things like that, they'll give you a cup of, I don't know if anyone's experienced that at all, but they'll give you a cup of ghee to drink. So like a kind of that size cup of ghee. And as you can imagine, it kind of just like, it like lubricates everything and takes everything out of you. So for us, if we're just having like half a teaspoon in some milk, it still gives you a nice kind of like lubrication and oiling of inside. And because of the ghee being the same protein as us, it gets straight to that OJS level of your body. Things like just like mild sweating, so going for a sauna or keeping nice and warm, and having and it's really nice to do those sorts of activities instead of like running or doing anything excessive, just having singing and music and walks or mantra. So all of these treatments for Vata would also be all great things for everybody to do more for autumn. Okay, and then Pitta, I won't spend too long on Pitta, but we have the Pitta is more in the summer. So because Pitta is to do with the blood and to do with heating, you can see aggravated Pittas with any inflammatory condition, any kind of aggravated psychological states. And if they've got sort of a reduced one, they can have really destructive tendencies. So luckily none of us are in this area at the moment, but with each dosha has a different way of being depressed. So with the Vata dosha, if you had like a Vata depression, somebody with a Vata depression might just forget about it really quickly, and they'd be feeling sad one day, and then maybe like by the afternoon they've forgotten what they were sad about. But if they're a Pitta, they could be quite sort of angry and self-destructive in their depression and want to hurt themselves with it. So a Pitta one can be quite I suppose like the worst one, if you like. And then if you have a Kapha type depression, because Kapha's generally more attached to things, they can feel really, really sad for longer and just go really introverted, and it's harder to get them out of their depression. So not necessarily like the person, but like, so their depression can manifest itself in these 3 different ways. Sorry, off topic there a little bit. So causes of the Pitta imbalances: excessive consumption of tomatoes. We'll add tomatoes in as well, but like food and drink that shares Pitta qualities would be tomatoes, lemons, red meat, red fish like shellfish, tuna, salmon, things like that, alcohol, incompatible food. So if you kind of like mix proteins, if you were having, which is so mad because there's so many foods that are like naturally like mixed proteins, like here, like paella, you know, when they have like chorizo and chicken and fish and all that kind of stuff. So that's awful for creating armor in your body and building up toxins, because your digestive fire can't really work out what to do with it because it's got too many different types of protein, and it's just going, oh my God, what's going on? So that builds up loads of toxins in your body and causes loads of blockages. Eating too frequently, eating while feeling angry, and Pittas are generally competitive. If you have aggravated Pitta, it can have increased body heat, inflammation. So that type of arthritis, so if you have that swollen arthritis, more like rheumatoid arthritis, is more of a Pitta condition, whereas things like osteoarthritis are more Vata because of the drying nature of it compared to the inflammation. I'm not going to spend too long on the Pitta and the Kapha bit so that we can go through more recipes and stuff for you guys, but you'll have these. So treatments for a Pitta person would be the same, like, you know, in that beginning bit where we were talking about, I don't know if everybody was on, but if you were thinking about who you would want to go to dinner with and who you'd want to spend time with, if you had the choice between somebody who was like your best friend who you had absolutely everything in common with, or a neighbor that you just had a couple of things in common with, or someone that's a complete stranger that you know nothing about, you're going to go for that person that you have everything in common with. So your natural tendency is to go for whatever is more similar to you. So that can cause you to be aggravated. So it's when you're thinking about, you know, your intuition and thinking, oh, well, intuitively, I want to, I don't know, have a tomato, or I want to have a steak because I feel like, you know, I've got low energy or something like that. And it's the best thing to do is just take a moment to have a breath and think, do I want to do that because my intuition is telling me that that's what I'm lacking in my body? Or is it because that's what I want to go to because it's comfortable, because it's going to make me more like the Pitta condition or the Kapha condition and just add to it rather than. So as you know that, it's good to just have a little check-in and think, oh, how am I feeling? What's going on at the moment? Am I just going to give myself comfort and make it more like that? So for people that are Pitta and maybe kind of like a little bit like high-flying, executive, determined, busy people, helping them with the environment that they're in, going for moon walks, spending time with small children, but you know how little ones are so they're just like in wonder of like the moment that they're in, and they're not judging anything, they're just having fun and seeing everything through like fresh eyes, like everything's amazing and it's joyful and it's playful. And so that's our recipe for helping people with Pitta energy calm down a little bit. So our last one is Kapha, which as we move into winter, then we get more. So at the moment, it's say like 70% Vata would be the autumn, and then there would just be like a little bit of Kapha. But as we get into the winter, they switch places and we become more susceptible to Kaffir imbalances. And there's still a little bit of Vata in there, but it's much more Kapha in that next season. So you can see imbalances with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, obesity, being depressed. And if you think about sort of like diabetes, whether it's especially kind of type 2 diabetes, where they're eating more of those foods, so eating maybe like more sweet foods, more sugary foods, and they're just creating more and more of the same thing. And as we get to winter, you can see the coughs and colds, chest infections, because that site where in the body where Kapha lives is in that chest area. And with things like having not enough Kapha present, then it's giving you that reduced immunity. So recovering after COVID, or people that are kind of picking up COVID as well. And just generally, you know, sometimes there's always somebody around like the winter that they just keep on getting one thing after another and don't really seem to kind of get back to good health. So they're in this place of being stuck with too low a Kapha. Okay, so again, sort of like really similar to the other ones, if you're having too much of that food. Also though, like sleeping in the daytime. So because you're getting yourself out of this rhythm and it's disturbing the way that your body is working and the Agni fire and taking it into all the right places. Lack of physical exercise and insufficient stimulus for the mind. I don't think we've got anybody that's with us that's kind of in that category, but something to be aware of. Okay, so symptoms of those Kapha imbalances: heaviness, gravity in their physical or mental state, increased oiliness, feeling cold. I think with as you get to the winter as well, you know, when people have like that SAD and they suffer from like no sunlight, and you can see them kind of going into this little bit of a, some people really suffer with that in a depressive way really heavily, and they don't want to go out, so they're then withdrawing from socializing with people and not having any stimulus. So again, they're kind of like making it worse for themselves. So our treatments for Kapha are then using like the opposite taste. I think this is like quite tricky because most of the in my stepdad's quite Kaffir, and he has got a really sweet tooth as well. So to try and like switch his taste buds to like bitter, pungent, astringent is a really tricky task. But there's a mixture of 3 different spices that you can make that I'm going to give you a recipe afterwards, which really helps for weight loss, but it also helps for changing your taste buds so you're not craving sweet foods. And it's ajwain seeds, fenugreek seeds, and nigella seeds in a kind of 5-to-1 ratio, roasted and grounded down. Tastes hideous. It's like the most disgusting thing ever. But you get used to it. But that, if you have that before you eat, it's a really good way of like changing that craving for sweet food. It's just getting over the first, like maybe the first week of it. Okay. So before we go into a bit more like for ourselves personally, another really good breath for us for this season is a hummingbird breath. Okay, so to help calm the vata down and just sort of like bring us to grounding a bit more into the space that we're in. So this one's only going to be for a couple of minutes. So having your comfortable seat. So just sit where you can have a straight back. And if you think of any times when you're feeling like, sometimes I think the alternate nostril breath is great and all those breaths are really great. But if you are busy in your mind, this is more distracting so that you're less inclined for your mind to drift off and think of other things. So all we're going to do is make a hum sound, like a hum when you breathe out. And so you'll feel a like vibration on your lips. Be with your eyes closed. The nicest way to feel it is to also block your ears. Okay, so we're going to do, we're just going to do 3 hums so that you can feel it. So if you cover your ears over with your thumbs and maybe cover your eyes, obviously you don't have to worry because you're on mute. So just go like as loud as you want to and feel into that space. All we're doing is taking a deep breath in, and as you breathe out, making the hmm. So that sound is causing you to vibrate. Okay, so enjoy the vibration as you feel the sound. Okay, here we go for 3. Stay where you are with your eyes closed and simply feel the vibration sensation in your body. Just noticing how you feel. Stay in the space that you're in with your eyes closed and invite yourself to feel that connection to the ground, to feel that connection to being steady. And whenever you naturally feel like opening your eyes, just gently open your eyes, maybe like giving them a little blink. Oh, lovely, guys. Oh, so I feel like I've given you like loads of information, but it's great because it covers, these were, when I sent you that little email saying kind of how are you feeling and stuff like that, this was like generally what came out of those questions, which was great because it's a lot of what we've covered, looking at Vata and Pitta as well, and looking at this season. So I've got a few recipes and suggestions of things that you can do to help with some of these. So with the like dry skin, aggravated skin, is there anything else on there that you, or is there anything else not on there that you think that you've thought of during our session? Is there anything else that's come up that you've thought, oh, actually, I think this is something that's bothering me at the moment?
Yeah, I thought of one, which was headaches.
Ah, okay, great. Only because that can also be Vata related, and the air that's around
There.
on this part of your head here.
Always, yeah, always
Oh,
around the
really?
temples. Yeah.
And how frequently do you get it?
Quite frequently, every couple of days, really, and I often think it's to do with the weather. So when the weather seems to shift dramatically, so if you have one day that's really quite pleasant and the next day it's as if it's going to be thundery and stormy, then it's this like heaviness and the headache is there. But I do get them very regularly.
I feel like we'll have a look at some headache stuff as well, but I feel that because of everything that you've said as well, like what you eat and what you do, and thinking about you being quite Vata-y and the season being, and like how Vata is about movement and shifting, so it's kind of shifting that season, and your digestive fire and the armor, by having like too many salads and things like that, it's all kind of aggravating the same thing. So it could be a little bit of a slower process, but starting with focusing on your digestion and getting everything to work really well so that your body can take all the nutrients from that place and nourish all of your different layers.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Gina. Come on, Betty.
Just that wasn't on there, but we've already talked about it, is arthritis that I've got, but I think it's related to Vata when you said if it's osteoarthritis, which is, I always forget which one I've got, but I think I've got that one.
I thought you had rheumatoid arthritis.
I don't know.
Somebody get this one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I do on my feet.
Do you?
Yeah.
I feel like when you told me before, I think it's rheumatoid. I think it's swelling because your fingers sometimes get swollen, don't they?
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I know on my knees it's from it wearing down over time.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what that is, but then, yeah.
You might have a combination of both in different places in your body.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's rheumatoid arthritis. I don't know why. I think I feel like every conversation I've had with you, we've talked about inflammation and swelling. Do you have a lot of pitta aggravating type of foods in your diet, like reds, like tomatoes, peppers?
Yeah, I do
Lemon.
eat pepper like that, yeah. Do you know
What
what?
about
Since you told me about
tomatoes?
tomatoes, I eat them less since you told me, because I remember.
Oh.
But I
Kind of
do
like,
love tomatoes.
do you know what, there's do you have it in as a sauce, or do you have them like just in salads or something like that?
I would only have them like if I'm making like a stir fry or something like that. I'd only have them like in that.
Because there's you can make different, it doesn't look quite as nice, but it tastes really similar. So getting tamarind paste and coconut milk, mixing them together creates the same flavor and consistency as tomatoes. Like if you have like tinned tomatoes, or so you
Oh,
could do that.
yeah, definitely. That's really cool.
Yeah, but I guess it's like it doesn't, it looks obviously a bit, it's more brown than red, but it tastes really good.
I will try.
Oh, cool. Okay, guys. So these are some recipes and some things for you to try to help you out. So looking at things like recovering from colds, flu, and building up your immunity. Do you remember we had Vata and Kapha being cold? So because they're cold, there's another recipe which is a cold coriander. But if you're feeling yourself that you're being bothered by anything cold, it's nicer to start with a hot preparation, and then you can go into the cold preparation. So this coriander tea is, so the recipe is really specific, and it works on like those exact measurements. So it's whole coriander seeds. So you can get them from like Sainsbury's or somewhere like that. But like the way that I go through coriander seeds, it's probably, I would say, like half a kilo a month. So you can't, that sounds excessive, like that. Like, but I'm looking at this big jar over that I can see, and it's kind of like that. And that's maybe been sort of 2 weeks. So, but there's two of us. If you go to I know there's going to be like an Asian food shop near you, Joe, but like for the guys that are up north, there's Kashmiri stores in Victoria Road, and they're amazing, and they've got like massive bag of coriander seeds for I think like $2.99 for a kilo or something like that, maybe $3.99 for a kilo. If you're you can get organic coriander seeds from, oh, I can't remember the name now, but I'll send a link to it, because there's a place I order them online, and the organic ones, they're a little bit more expensive, but they taste so good. So if you are drinking them every day, it's nice to get the organic ones. So this coriander ginger tea, you could have it every morning, have 2 cups a day, maybe before your breakfast and before your lunch. So this is doing something that is helping you. Remember, going back to the beginning, it's helping eliminate the armor. So it's helping take out the armor, and it's also helping the schrotas, the channel systems, become clear, so that the Agni fire can work and you can get everything to the right place. So it's working on that armor that might be causing build up from colds and flu and that type of inflammation. So if you can boil the coriander, add the ginger, and obviously if you're a bit more Kaffir, if you're suffering from anything like that, you could leave out the honey and sugar and just go for coriander and ginger. Weirdly, coriander tastes really good. It's really lovely for tea. And the next one underneath, the ginger, lime, and honey, this is like Ayurvedic lemon sip. It's amazing, and it works really, really well for like colds, flu, immune system. So you can make that up it seems like excessive when you're doing it, but I was making it for my mum, and that mixture maybe lasted about a week, 10 days. So 100 grams of ginger, 6 limes, 6 teaspoons of honey. Now it does feel like a lot when you're doing it, and 3 teaspoons of brown sugar, but you're not having all that in one go, you know, and then you can just take a little bit of it and have it with hot water. So it's great if you're feeling, you know, if you go for, if you've been out for a long walk or you've gone for a run and you've got cold and you have that feeling like, oh, I might not be very well or something. If you have this, it totally seems to stop anything taking hold of you. And if you know that you're prone to having a bit of a low immunity, or the other good thing is it's helping with your sense of smell and taste. So it's again kind of like resetting, clearing out the armor and helping everything start to work again. So things that are really good for bloating and any discomfort in your stomach. And this is good for, so it says on there, agni deepener. So what that means is just sorting out your digestive fire, your agni. So if any problems that we have, in order for us to get them to go away and be alleviated, if we don't sort out the agni fire, like the kind of like starting bit in our belly, it's never going to trickle through to everywhere else. So this little mixture is great for sorting it out. And it also helps you with any bloating or IBS and things like that. So it's 500 grams of cumin seeds. And also it tastes amazing. It's really good. So if you were starting to prepare yourself for something before you had the really horrible mixture for like digestion and weight loss, this is a really good one to start with because it just starts getting everything moving. So with the cumin seeds, you just want to dry fry them in any saucepan until you start to get a little bit of a smell. So you don't want to burn them, and then allow them to cool down. If you put them in a coffee grinder is the best to do it with. But if you don't, and you have a NutriBullet or something like that, the NutriBullet's just as good. So I've tried both, and they're both really good. The coffee grinders are just weirdly amazing at doing stuff like that. And as I'm not grinding coffee beans anymore, it has a new function. And then you can sieve it if you want to. I generally don't sieve it, but I know, but then I don't mind having like these little bits in it. Mix that with half a teaspoon of honey and just have it before you eat. So if you think that that's going into your body, the honey is a great carrier, because if you were vegan or something like that, you can change the honey to agave or another thing, or maple syrup. But honey has the same properties as like ghee and milk. So because it's a similar protein to us, it carries through your dhatus and through your different layers of your body. So it allows that cumin mixture to get straight into our agni fire and to start clearing the channel straight away. So Betty, that'd be a great thing for you to make, and anybody that's suffering from bloating. So this is something that I take like most of the time or every other day. If you're suffering from cold, it's better to go with the hot coriander tea instead. But if you have coriander seeds and crush them down in a pestle and mortar and just soak them overnight, strain it and drink it in the morning. But this is great for all sorts of infections. So even if you have like UTI infection or anything in your skin as well, like acne or bacteria, this totally clears out everything like that for you, because it's cooling and flushing through your body and clearing through all those channels that we're trying to get to work properly, and helping with your agni fire. So it's the best thing to do with this is, after you've scraped your tongue, have a glass of this. on an empty stomach with nothing else in it before. So that's when it's going to work its best. And it's also good for, it's recommended in their like post-COVID recovery, building your immunity and getting rid of infections. And I'm going to send you all these, guys, so you, and any questions or anything like that. So when we talked about breakfasts, and do you remember that I mentioned that rice was like tri-doshic? So whatever dosha you were, you would be able to have rice for breakfast. And it's, if you haven't tried this, it's really worth trying it. So you can, so for all of the Vata aggravated people or Vata people, ignore the bottom one, because we're making the rice drier. So the only time when rice is going to be good like that is if you have a Kapha imbalance. You know, so say if you were trying to lose weight, or you're suffering from cold or lethargy or anything like that, then the last one would be great. And it makes the rice the most like porridge, because you do the same thing where you dry roast the rice in a saucepan, and it has this like the best smell ever as it's dry roasting, and then leave it to dry, make porridge from that, and it looks and tastes exactly like porridge, but it's rice. But for this season, and for those guys that are feeling a little bit with anxiety or not being able to relax as much, the sweet rice porridge is the best one to go for, the top one. So with that one, you're using coconut milk and cinnamon, and I suppose it's almost a little bit like having rice pudding, but with regular rice, just like regular basmati rice or white rice. And the middle one, for us thinking about different types of flavor, you've got the garlic and the ginger. So, and that looks like it's going to be horrible, but that's what I have for breakfast every morning, and it's so good. So it's just rice, coconut milk, water, garlic, and fresh ginger. And something about like the garlic and the ginger, it seems like it's going to be horrible, but it's not. It's lovely. It's really, really tasty, and helps with heartburn, also helps with things like bloating and stuff like that. And obviously you're getting all of those flavors right to your digestive fire. So it helps like with the signals to your brain. So you feel that you've been satisfied because you've had 6 different flavors. Awesome. And looking at the dry skin side of things, like dry skin, eczema, or anything like that that people have been suffering with, the other thing that's nice for us to do is, you can either go for a massage or get like your partner or somebody else to massage you, but also you can do it yourself. So with the oil, if you're somebody that is, I think most of the people are cooler people. So if you're in, like, and we're in the Vata season, so we want an oil that's warming, that's going to heat you up. So things like the sesame oil, the tiger balm, camphor, that's going to be warming for you. So it's going to heat your body up. It's only if you're in like the Pitta. So maybe for you, Betty, it would be better for coconut oil, something that's more cooling. But for everybody else, to have a more heating oil, so staying with sesame oil, and things like just with your hands. So for helping those guys that are having broken sleep, then doing maybe a hand massage, like your hands, your arms, and also your feet before you go to sleep. So you could have sesame oil and just add a little bit of lavender into that. Massage your feet, massage your arms, your hands, your shoulders. And then, you know, we were talking about the, talking about how you could have ghee and take ghee. So as we're sorting out that right from the toxin area and getting rid of the armor and trying to remove all of that armor from our bodies. You can either do one that is for everybody, no matter what dosha you are. And if you didn't want to have something that was making like the ghee or anything like that, you can buy triphala tablets. So triphala tablets I can either get them from the Ayurvedic Institute that I'm working with, or you can buy them. There's a great shop in Whitby called Totally Natural Skincare. Do you guys know the shop that I'm in? It's yeah, it's good. They seem to be really reasonably priced for everything. Some things they actually seem to buy from London and then sell on, but they don't put anything on top of it, so they're no more expensive whether you buy them from like Ayurveda in London or whether you buy them from the shop in Whitby. They just charge you for the postage. But they sell triphala tablets, which is really good for digestion, good for taking when you go to sleep at night. It also helps you to settle and helps work on all of the food and that you've had that day. So I want to say it's like a little bit of a cheat, but say you were having a day when you didn't eat great and you were rushing about and you wanted to have, when you went to bed, you want to thinking, oh, I haven't really been eating how I was planning to eat today and I've not eaten the right things. If you have a couple of tablets of triphala before you go to bed, it can just help the digestive fire work on everything that you've taken and help get all of the right benefits to all the layers of your body. Otherwise, having ghee and just like a little bit of ghee. So if you can't, I think, does everybody feel happy that they can buy ghee easily? If not, you can make it as well. You can just boil it and you can just boil butter to make the ghee. But Sainsbury's sell it as well. So in like a jar of ghee lasts for ages. So you can have a little bit of hot water, ghee and salt. And because of that ghee being the same protein as us, it takes that nourishment all the way to all of your layers, all of your dhatus. So like guys suffering with dry skin and any like aggravated skin, it's great for you to incorporate having a little bit of like ghee every day, whether you have that kind of before you go to bed or whenever you can get it in during the day. And if you, the cold coriander infusion is the cold coriander water, like the soaking the coriander seeds. So all of these are to help us get rid of that armor in our body. So by getting rid of that armor, we're creating a clear channel so that Agni fire can work, so we can nourish all of our tissues. And if you're feeling, so the coriander works for all three doshas as well. So it's great unless you're feeling a bit cold. And also the ghee, salt with a little hot water. So Betty, that might be great for your skin as well, because you're just lubricating with that ghee, salt and hot water. And the salt is acting as the carrier. So a bit like how you sort of like feel how osmosis works, and that salt and ghee, it's carrying, like helping the ghee go all the way right to all of your tissues. Sorry guys, I know I'm kind of like running over a little bit here. The other thing that I just wanted to mention was before going to sleep. So I think I've touched on it already, but giving you that solid sleep, you can make warm milk, like an actual milk drink made with organic milk, have a little bit of ghee and a little bit of, obviously loads of ghee, so maybe like 1/4 of a teaspoon, and a little bit of turmeric is going to help you have a nice settled sleep and giving yourself that nice oil massage. Okay, so last thing that I wanted to mention, if you want to, so it's optional, but if you guys would like to have a 3-week, I want to say cleanse, it's not really a cleanse, it's a 3-week journey into sorting out our armor and getting rid of any like toxins, and then working on rejuvenating our bodies and getting ourselves in the best place for the next season and then the autumn. So you can let me know in the reply to the email if you want to. But if you do, week 1 would start on Monday, and we'll just start with cutting out some things like coffee and maybe some sugar or processed foods, things like that. And then you can have a look at what's in the kitchen cupboards, you know, and maybe actively not buy in things that are going to be a little bit disturbing. And during this first week, starting on Monday, choose one of those breaths that we've done today, maybe the Hummingbird Breath or the alternate nostril breathing, and start getting the tongue scraping in, or even like the daily massage. So if you could grab some oil, like sesame oil or coconut oil, and have a massage before you have a shower every morning. So if you just rub it all, in fact, it's nice before the shower, because you can buy a really big, cheap bottle of sesame oil from Kashmiri stores. It's only, I think I'm their biggest fan. It's only about $1.99, but it lasts for ages. And because you know you're about to get in the shower, you can be kind of like really generous with it. And then massage into all your body, especially like that upper body, your feet and your hands. So you're helping that circulation for the season, and then have a shower. And then afterwards, you should still retain some of that goodness from the oil. So that would be our first week. And then on our second week, we would start looking at cleansing a little bit more. So our second week, we'll have a diet of khichdi, so like a yellow mung bean khichdi. So this is going to help us with our skin, it's going to help with headaches, help with your sleep, help with your digestion, and look at kind of carrying on with those massages and having a diet that's mainly going to be khichdi. If you're of a low weight, then maybe we'll add some other things in as well. And then on the third week, we could start introducing some other foods just slowly. And during our second week, we'll have time to really reflect on what foods might be causing you those irritations, so that then in the third week, you can either leave them out or just try tentatively to bring back in different foods. So I'll send you the recipe for the khichdi. And there's quite a few different ones out there, but depending on sort of how you are. So say if you've got more weight or more sluggishness, then we'll like take out a little bit of the ghee. And if you are a little bit fiery or a little bit kind of cool, we'll take out some of the ginger. But I think mostly everybody's okay in that respect. So yeah, and then by the time we get to week 3, we should be fully in autumn and feeling the benefit of getting rid of some of that armor and feeling that nourishment going through to all of the layers in our body. So it's optional, guys. I just thought I'd offer you that if you wanted to go and do 3 weeks with me. That's what I'm going to do from Monday. So, oh, cool. Well, what I'll do is I'll send you this as a PDF that we've gone through today, and then just reply to me on it saying if you want to do it with me or not. And then these are just some things based on like what you've been telling me, some good practices that you could do to help keep your gut well and therefore keep your Agni fire going, so we can get everything nourished. So avoid snacking, no to oats, tomatoes. Avocados are really drying, so avocados suck all the moisture out of you, so that if you do like really love them and you can't do without them, try and keep them to a minimum. Leftovers, so avoid eating leftovers because the food's not fresh. So when you think about how sensitive we are and that we're working with the environment and the elements around us, you're storing something and it's changing how it was made and fermenting and moving into something that's harder for your body to digest. Think about eating only when you're hungry, avoiding cold drinks. So especially as we're moving into this season, generally, if you avoided everything cold, that would be a good thing. So cold drinks, cold foods. Don't eat when you're feeling emotional. Avoid mixing animal proteins. Like our natural urges we talked about. And they're like, ghee is great for everything. You know, if you don't have some ghee in the cupboard, go and get some ghee. The other thing that community is immunity is really good for our immune system, to spend time with people, doing stuff, laughing, socializing. You know, if you find that you end up being a bit isolated in any way, it's great to reach out. And or if you know anybody that doesn't see people very often, it's really important for us to spend time with other people. Pranayama, the breath that we did, concentrating on eating mindfully, and maybe just being curious about your like water intake. So if you do have loads of water, just noticing if it's definitely coming out through like sweat and urine and other ways, and if you don't have enough. So just thinking about how thirsty you are. Yes, and I'll let you read that because I've gone a little bit over time. But any questions, guys, on that? I'm going to send everything to you, and I'll be able to answer any questions as well if you have any later, or you want to reply to me on an email. No? Oh, well, thank you. Thank you so much for your attention. Sorry I went a little bit over time, but I hope that it was useful, and I'll send you the PDF, and hopefully you'll join me for 3 weeks of armour reducing.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Carol. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
And you. It's been
Thanks,
really
Victoria.
interesting.
Oh, good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Really good.
Thanks,
Really
Nina.
enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Oh, brilliant.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jodie. See you later. See you, Betty. See you, Afnan. Thank you. Thanks, Joey.
Bye.
That is so bad on this.
Hey.
That was off the scale. That was amazing.
Really?
Fuck. You have no idea. That was amazing. That was
Oh,
a
wow.
presentation, honey.
That was what?
Like a 50 quid presentation.
Oh, wow. Thanks, honey.
Honestly.
Oh, let me
you know
stop
what?
recording. Hang on.